3:17 in the morning, that's when the notification sound cuts through the silence. Not a text from a friend, not an email you want to read. It's the bank app, and you already know what it says before you even look. Because this is the third time this month. Insufficient funds. Overdraft fee pending. $29 for being $6 short on an automatic payment you forgot was scheduled. Because you're juggling 17 different subscriptions and bills and due dates and you can't keep track anymore. Because your brain is fried from working 60 hours a week at a job you hate. To pay for a house that's slowly killing you. You're lying in a king-sized bed in a master bedroom with vaulted ceilings and recessed lighting. And one of those fancy ceiling fans that cost $400 at Home Depot. And you can't sleep because the anxiety is eating you alive. The room is dark, but you can feel the weight of the walls, the pressure of the roof, the crushing math of the mortgage that seemed reasonable on paper 18 months ago. When the realtor smiled and said congratulations and handed you the keys. And everyone toasted your success and you felt like you'd finally made it. Except now you're awake at 3:17 in the morning getting overdraft notifications, while sleeping in a house worth $620,000, and the absurdity of it would be funny if it wasn't so goddamn tragic. This is what house poor looks like in real time. Not the Instagram posts with the champagne and the key photos and the caption about dreams coming true. Not the housewarming party where everyone oohs and ahs over your kitchen island, and asks how you scored such a great place. This, the 3 a.m. panic attacks, the constant mental math of what you can and can't afford, the declining every invitation because you're broke despite making $91,000 a year, the eating rice and beans at a $10,000 dining table, the watching your check engine light stay on for 6 months because you don't have $1,200 for the repair, even though you're supposedly living the American dream. You own a house, which means you're winning according to every metric society uses to measure success, except you're losing in every way that actually matters. You're losing your health to stress. You're losing your relationships because you can't do anything that costs money. You're losing years of your life to a job you can't quit because the mortgage payment is non-negotiable, and if you miss it, the whole thing collapses. The house was supposed to be freedom, the reward for working hard and saving up, and doing everything right, but somehow it became a prison. And the bars are made of granite countertops and crown molding and HOA-approved paint colors. Let me tell you about the exact moment most people realize they're trapped. And it's not when they sign the mortgage papers, because that day is all champagne and optimism. And relief that you finally got approved and beat out the other buyers. It's not even the first payment because you still have some savings cushion. And you convince yourself you'll adjust and it'll be fine. The moment hits about 4 to 6 months in when you realize this isn't temporary. This is your life now, and the weight of that realization crushes something in your chest. You're sitting at your kitchen island, the one you specifically wanted with the waterfall edge quartz countertop. And you're adding up your bills on your phone calculator for the third time, hoping the math will somehow change, and it doesn't change. And you realize you have $43 left for the next 2 weeks. And you need gas and groceries, and your daughter needs new shoes. Because kids don't stop growing just because you're financially drowning. That's when it hits. You traded your freedom for a building. You traded your margin for square footage. You traded your future for equity you can't access without selling. And selling means admitting you made a mistake. And we've been conditioned to see that as failure rather than course correction. The really sinister part is how normalized this has become. We've collectively agreed to pretend that being house poor is just part of adulting, just what you do when you're responsible and building wealth and securing your family's future. Your parents did it. Your friends are doing it. Every financial advice column acts like it's a given that you'll stretch yourself thin to buy. Because real estate always goes up and renting is throwing money away. And you're building equity. Except none of that is universally true. And the people telling you these things either profit from your participation or are so invested in their own choices that they need you to make the same ones, to validate their suffering. The mortgage lender makes money when you borrow more, not less. The realtor's commission is based on the sale price. So they want not the home. They all need you to stretch yourself because that's how they maximize revenue. Nobody in that equation is incentivized to tell you to buy less house, or wait until you have a bigger down payment or consider renting longer, while you build actual wealth and investments. That would hurt their bottom line. So instead they tell you this is normal, this is good, this is the path. And by the time you realize you've been sold a story that doesn't match the math, you're already locked in for 30 years. The numbers don't lie even when everyone around you is lying about the numbers. The median home price in America last year was $437,000. The median household income was $75,000. That's a ratio of 5.8 to 1. In 1970, the median home price was $17,000 and median household income was $9,000, a ratio of 1.9 to 1. Housing has gotten 3 times more expensive relative to income in just over 50 years. But somehow we're all supposed to make it work by cutting lattes and meal prepping and having a side hustle. The system is rigged and everyone knows it, but we keep participating because the alternative is admitting we can't afford the dream and that feels like losing. So we stretch. We use both incomes instead of one. We take on longer mortgage terms. We put down smaller down payments, which means higher monthly payments and PMI. We drain our retirement accounts for down payments. We borrow from family. We get creative with our debt-to-income ratios by counting gig economy income that might not be stable. We do whatever it takes to get approved, because we've been told this is the only path to wealth. And then we spend the next decade or two wondering why we're so stressed and tired and broke despite doing everything we were supposed to do. Here's what house poor actually means when you strip away the euphemisms. It means your debt-to-income ratio is so high that you have no financial flexibility. It means one missed paycheck or one unexpected expense creates a crisis instead of an inconvenience. It means you're constantly robbing Peter to pay Paul, juggling credit cards and due dates and minimum payments. It means you can't contribute to your 401k beyond the minimum match, if that, which means you're sacrificing your future to pay for your present. It means you can't build an emergency fund, so when the furnace dies in January, or the roof starts leaking, or your transmission fails, you have to put it on a credit card at 19% interest. And now you've got another monthly payment eating away at the margin you don't have. It means you can't take the job you'd love that pays less, because you need this salary to make the mortgage. It means you can't start the business you've been dreaming about, because you can't risk the income stability. It means you can't move for a better opportunity, because selling now might mean taking a loss after closing costs and realtor fees. The house was supposed to create options, but it eliminated them. It was supposed to be an asset, but it's functioning as a liability. That drains your cash flow every single month, while appreciating at a rate that might or might not beat inflation depending on the market. The psychology of this trap is what really destroys people because it's not just about money. It's about identity and self-worth in the stories we tell ourselves. You worked hard to buy this house. You saved for years. You sacrificed. You delayed gratification. You did everything right according to the script you were given. And now you're supposed to feel pride and accomplishment. But instead you feel anxious and trapped and resentful. And you can't say that out loud because everyone congratulated you when you bought. Everyone told you how lucky you were. Everyone acted like you'd won the lottery. So now you have to keep pretending everything is fine while you're dying inside. You post the carefully curated photos on social media. You host the parties where you pretend you're not stressed about the cost of the food and drinks. You nod along when people talk about how great homeownership is while internally screaming. The cognitive dissonance breaks people. You can't admit you made a mistake without feeling like a failure. You can't sell without feeling like you're giving up. You can't keep going like this without breaking down. So you exist in this liminal space of quiet desperation, hoping something changes, hoping you get a raise, hoping the market goes up enough that you can refinance or sell at a profit, hoping the universe delivers some kind of miracle because you're out of ideas and out of energy. And your brain isn't helping because when you're under chronic financial stress, your neurobiology works against you. The amygdala, your fear and threat detection center, becomes hyperactive. You're constantly scanning for danger, constantly worried about money, constantly triggered by bills and statements and price tags. Your cortisol levels stay elevated, which destroys your sleep quality, weakens your immune system, makes you irritable and short-tempered with the people you love. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational planning and impulse control, goes offline. Because your brain thinks you're in survival mode. So you make worse decisions. You impulse buy for temporary dopamine hits. You avoid dealing with the problem because looking at the numbers triggers too much anxiety. You self-medicate with food or alcohol or shopping or whatever gives you momentary relief from the constant pressure. And the whole time you know you're making it worse, but you can't seem to stop. Because you're running on empty and your executive function is shot. And this is just how trauma responses work under sustained stress. The 30% rule exists because someone smarter than us did the math decades ago and figured out where the breaking point is. Your housing costs, all of them, mortgage, property tax, insurance, HOA fees, maintenance averaged out, should not exceed 30% of your gross income. Not take home gross, the number before taxes. This isn't arbitrary. This is the threshold where you maintain enough margin to handle life. Below 30%, you can save, you can invest, you can handle emergencies, you can live. Above 30%, you enter the danger zone where you're stretched thin and vulnerable. Above 40%, you're in crisis territory where one bad break ruins you. Above 50%, you're drowning and you just haven't gone under yet. The rule isn't about being conservative or leaving money on the table. It's about sustainability. It's about building wealth that lasts. Instead of building a house of cards that collapses when the wind blows, So here's the hard truth nobody wants to say out loud, because it contradicts everything we've been taught about real estate being the path to wealth. Your primary residence is not an asset. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. By that definition, the house you live in, the one you're paying a mortgage on, the one that requires constant maintenance and insurance and property taxes, that's a liability. It's an expensive, beautiful liability that we've been conditioned to worship. But it's still taking money out of your pocket every month. It only becomes an asset when it produces income. When you rent it out and the rental income exceeds your costs. When it's generating positive cash flow instead of consuming it. Until then, you're confusing appreciation with cash flow. And appreciation is theoretical until you sell. And selling means you need somewhere else to live, which costs money. So unless you're downsizing or moving to a cheaper market, that appreciation doesn't help you. This isn't controversial. Robert Kiyosaki said it 25 years ago in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Warren Buffett talks about the opportunity cost of having too much wealth tied up in real estate. But we ignore it because accepting it means confronting the uncomfortable possibility that the biggest financial decision of our lives might have been wrong. If you're already trapped, if you're already the person lying awake at 3 a.m., getting overdraft notifications while living in your dream home, here's what you do. First, stop pretending. Stop performing success on social media while drowning in private. Stop lying to yourself that it'll get better on its own. It won't. The problem compounds. The stress accumulates. Your health deteriorates. Your relationships suffer. You have to face it now. Pull your bank statements. Calculate your real numbers. What's your take-home income after all taxes and deductions? What are your total housing costs, including everything? What percentage is that? If it's over 30%, you have a problem. If it's over 50%, you have a crisis. Accept the reality without judgment. You're not stupid. You're not alone. Millions of Americans are in the same trap. The system is designed to put you here. But knowing that doesn't fix it. Action fixes it. Second, you need to make the hardest decision. Can you actually afford to keep this house? And I don't mean can you technically make the payments if nothing goes wrong. And you hit every bonus and you never get sick and your car never breaks down. I mean, can you afford it sustainably with margin for life and savings and emergencies? If the honest answer is no, then you have to consider selling. I know that's terrifying. I know it feels like failure. I know you'll lose money on closing costs and realtor fees. I know your family will have opinions. But you know what's worse than taking a short-term loss? Spending the next 10 years financially drowning. Sacrificing your health and sanity and relationships to make payments on a house you can't enjoy. Sometimes the brave thing is cutting your losses and getting back to solid ground. Sell the house, rent something affordable, save aggressively. Invest the difference, and in 5 years you might be in a position to buy something you can actually afford. Or maybe you realize renting gives you the flexibility you value, and you stop chasing homeownership because it doesn't fit your life. Either way, you're choosing freedom over the performance of success. Third, you need to ask for change. Get the side hustle that actually generates real revenue. Cut everything that isn't essential. Cancel the subscriptions. Stop eating out. Stop buying new clothes. Drive your car until the wheels fall off. Live like you're broke until you're not actually broke anymore. This isn't forever. This is the emergency protocol for getting out of crisis mode. 12 months, 24 months max of extreme discipline to create breathing room. And simultaneously, you build the emergency fund. You protect your 401k contributions at least to the match. You start investing even if it's just $50 a month. Because compound interest is real and starting matters more than the amount. You create systems that automate good behavior so you don't have to rely on willpower that's already depleted. The end game isn't deprivation. The end game is freedom. Financial freedom means you own your time. It means work becomes optional instead of mandatory. It means you can take the lower paying job you love. Because you don't need the higher salary to service debt. It means you sleep at night because you're not worried about money. It means you can be generous because you have margin. It means when your car breaks down, you're annoyed but not devastated. It means you can travel because you saved for it. It means you retire before 70 because you invested consistently in boring index funds. Instead of gambling on real estate appreciation, that's the prize. Not the bigger house. Instead of the American dream isn't dead. It's just been hijacked by people who profit from your debt. The real dream is financial independence. It's building wealth slowly through discipline and compound interest. It's living below your means on purpose so you can invest the difference and buy your time back. It's understanding that the house doesn't make you successful, freedom does. And sometimes you have to choose between looking successful and being free. The system wants you trapped. The mortgage lender, the realtor, the banks, the entire apparatus. They all profit when you're leveraged to the hilt and working desperately to make payments. But you can opt out. You can refuse to play a rigged game. You can define success on your own terms. You can decide that maybe you don't need 4 bedrooms. Maybe you need financial peace. Maybe you don't need granite countertops. Maybe you need the ability to quit a toxic job. Maybe the dream house can wait until the numbers actually work. Instead of forcing it because you're tired of people asking when you're going to buy, stop complicating it. Start getting free.